Hey there everybody, it's Wayne D. Welcome to the website. It's WayneD.com, you know that. We're looking at Lee Trevino. The point of this video is to show face-on views of the greatest players to prove my point that in my teaching I have always described the first move in the downswing with the lower body as exactly what Trevino called it, a slide turn. He'd probably use a hyphen, or you might even put those two words together, but what he was talking about was just what he's doing here when he rotates the right side of the pelvis to change direction from clockwise to counterclockwise, that he's working against a braced right leg, and in order to shift pressure from right to left, that turning motion will drive the pelvis forward as it goes around. So my instruction to simplify for people is, let's try to drive the lower body 45 degrees to the left initially, and at the end of the motion the left hip will work behind the player. So let's watch Trevino as he starts down. So I would say that, overall that's about an average amount of movement. You might see a little more movement with an iron shot than you do with a driver. Obviously you're going to put more pressure on the left leg to hit down on an iron, but we're going to see in these pictures, we're going to see both irons and drivers, and you're going to see lateral movement involved along with rotation at the beginning of these swings. There's been a lot of traction about not having any lateral movement in the forward swing in order to hit the ball further. My point is it's nobody has done that. So let's watch. I'm going to run through these guys pretty much in alphabetical order, all major champions. So let's watch Billy Casper from the top. Now let's run over to Dustin Johnson. Now in this particular video the camera is going to move a hair, so what I'm going to do is put a line on that post in the background, and you'll see by the time he gets to the top the line's moved a little bit. So I'm just going to draw the lines as he gets to the top and watch the motion. So again, there's the lateral motion, quite pronounced. How about Mr. David Duval? Here's a swing. I actually took this video. Again. That was a 270-yard 2-iron back in 1999. And here's another one from a little further back in the day. There's Ernie Els. So this is a nice still face-on shot. Let's see what Els does here. So pretty much loading against the right wall. There's a little movement off the left side, and then obviously lateral movement and rotation. He's well open when he hits it and well left. So how about Nick Faldo? I also took this at the PGA. I believe this was at Hazeltine. One of my favorites, Raymond Floyd. Took this when I was working at Trump down in West Palm. We were on the back of the range. Raymond was nice enough to let me film him a couple times. Let's go a little further back in history about a little Walter Hagen. So a little athletic slide to the right. It's not uncommon amongst these guys, but look at that lateral along with that rotation. So even though he went way off in the backswing, he still drives way over to the left. And since we're in the H's, we might as well hit Mr. Hagen. Shot of Hagen in 1952. Now here's another one. One of the younger guys here, Justin Thomas. Let's take a look. So again, you see separation from that right side of that pelvis from the point at which it was loaded. We know there's lateral movement involved there. Here we got another old timer, Mr. Jones. So how about a recent U.S. Open champ? It's Brooks Koepka from the top. So why anybody would teach for the right leg to squat and twist and stay against the wall. So in other words, staying in the box in the downswing. When you see these guys doing this, why would you want to do that? I don't get it. Anyway, let's take a look at another major champion, Bernard Langer. Can move along to Rory Mcilroy. Let's check him out. That's a pretty good example of a player really compressing into the ground. But as he does that, notice that as he flexes and loses height, he's going to move from right to left. Watch that right hip drive. Starts there and ends up way over there. And as he gets deeper and left enough and his hips are open enough, he can push upward and get that vertical force. Let's take a look at Johnny Miller. That's a big one. So back in the old days, the idea of driving the knees was a little bit more in vogue. So you'll see some pretty extreme hip drive there. But my point is that no matter how much there is, that lateral movement is present every single time. About Big Jack. So I'm going to ask all the kids out there, you sure you don't want to move a little bit from right to left as you're opening your hips up? How about a little Padraig Harrington? That's pretty pronounced too, don't you think? Looks like more like Billy Casper. Big time. How about Arnie? Now, one of the things that you'll note that the more the right leg twists in the backswing, the further the knee has to re-rotate around. So what you'll see is the knee pop out this way and then come around. Sam Snead is a really good example of that. But the point here is that as the downswing starts, the right leg is driving the hips to the left. So when you watch the left side, you'll see the lateral movement slide the pelvis to the left as it rotates. Now we're going to look at another major champ. We're going to look at Nick Price. You have one with the driver there, that's better. Let's take a look here. About that. How about Sammy Snead? Let's take a look at Sam. Now, one thing you got to remember about Snead is he aimed way right, flared his right foot, pulled it back and flared it out, took a huge hip turn. So his right leg is rotated way over this way, and he's got to get the club back out in front of him, and even then when he starts down you still see lateral movement. So what the focus on this knee is misplaced. The focus needs to be up here on the pelvis. Alright, we got a couple more. How about Jordan Spieth? There we go. Can't really argue with that. Now about some Tiger Woods, another video I took myself. We started out with one of the best ball strikers of all time, Lee Trevino. And let's finish up with Mr. Watson. Alright, so hope I proved my point. Plus, it's a lot of nice looking swings.